All right, St. Louis, this is not Bill Cleveland. He's once again on the road, as he tends to be. He'll be back next week. Right now, this is James. I'll be carrying the load. Nikki also is not here. But I was not completely abandoned, thankfully. The lovely and talented Erin Bodie has joined us this evening.
Hello.
And we have a special guest in studio as well, Sam Maronie, pop culture guru, as it were, is also in studio with us. And Paul is manning the phones. So we've got a great show tonight. And as usual, in the 10 o'clock hour, we usually do the It's All Geek to Me segment, which is why Sam was kind enough to visit us tonight. He's got a book out called Tripping Through Pop Culture, chronicling, I think, 4 decades, right, in the business?
4 decades plus.
And it's in all aspects. I mean, you've done news corresponding, Comic Cons. You've written for Starlog and St. Louis Post-Dispatch. After 4 decades, what kind of prompted you to decide I'm going to write a book about all this?
Well, I had all these memories and all this memorabilia, and I wanted to do something with them. I've not only been a professional, but a fan as well. I've kind of walked that tightrope, being both. And over the last 4 decades plus, I've amassed a huge collection of over 50,000 movie and TV stills, autograph photos, artifacts that some of the stars have given me over the years I've become friends with. And I just wanted to wrap them all up in a package and with words and pictures and kind of put it out there to the public.
And you said this is kind of like, would you call this, because we talked about before the show started, you're going to have another book coming out. So would you call this part 1, or are they going to be kind of like of the huge collection you've got of all the memorabilia and everything? Or is it going to be like a completely different animal, the second book?
The second book will be different. I'm also involved in other projects, like I'm going to have a downloadable magazine and also a series of podcasts. So I've got all kinds of projects ahead.
Sounds good. It's keeping you busy.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
And you just got done with the Comic Con in Kansas City this past weekend. How'd that go? It
was amazing. It gets bigger every year. And I have a pop culture blog, sammaronie.com, and I made the observation when I posted about the convention today that if it keeps going, it's going to be the San Diego of the Midwest.
That'd be great. San Diego is one I'd always like. It's like the Holy Grail.
Yes.
And I would always want to go there, but it's like, oh, maybe next year, because there seems like there's always something else that comes up that kind of keeps me from it. But that is San Diego is the big one, obviously.
Yeah, it's always at Planet Comic Con in Kansas City. It's every year. It's more stars, more cosplayers, more comic book professionals. It's just more and more and more. It keeps getting bigger.
So I saw they had the whole cast of Arrow there this past Comic Con. What were some other? Because I didn't get to see the whole thing. Who were some of the other big headlines?
Well, they had some people from The Walking Dead. They had the gentleman who plays Herschel on there. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. And then they also had just people like Kent McCord, who's from Adam 12, but he's been in a few science fiction shows.
Yeah.
And just people like that.
Did William Shatner make it out to this one? Because I know he does the circuit, too.
No, he was there last year, and maybe I shouldn't speak out of school, but the show promoters said how difficult he was.
Oh, no. You always hear that about stars, though. And we'll cover that in our fun facts later.
Absolutely. The most difficult celebrity.
Exactly. Now, I know Leonard Nimoy just passed, and some of the people have you ever got to speak with Leonard Nimoy at all?
I did. He was at the Jewish Book Festival here several years ago, and he was presenting his book, a photography book, there, and I went ahead and ponied up and went to the talk, because they always charge you for that, which was fine. It was worth seeing him in person, and I expected to see a lot of people there with pointed ears and things like that, but it was mostly a pretty stodgy crowd.
Yeah.
But I got to talk to him afterwards. He was very, very pleasant, a very nice man, and was glad for that opportunity.
He was one of those ones I never got the chance to meet, too. I remember as a littler kid, I got to meet Jimmy Doohan, who played Scotty.
Yes. And
I've got his autograph and a picture with him and everything like that, and I met William Shatner at the last Wizard World that was just through here, but never got to see Leonard Nimoy, unfortunately. And DeForest Kelley I think he died in 99, I want to say. Did you ever get to meet him, Dr. McCoy?
I saw him in passing, but did not get to meet him. Now, Nichelle Nichols, Lieutenant Uhura, and George Takei, they're very active on the convention scene.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'd love to meet George Takei. I think he'd be
I saw Nichelle last year in Miami.
Yeah.
still a very pretty lady, beautiful lady.
Yeah, they got a picture of her with the new woman who plays Uhura in the current Star Trek movies that are going on. She gave her seal of approval to the new one. That's got to be kind of big, just like the Leonard Nimoy gave his to. I can't think of anyone's name tonight. Zachary Quinto, who played Spock. There we go. I knew I'd get one. So who are some of the other, like, if you had to say, like, if someone said, Sam, who's the biggest star you've ever met? What would you?
Well, I've met Bob Hope and Charlton Heston, Martha Ray, Jane Powell, Donald O'Connor. You know, a lot of these great people from the past. And, you know, Hollywood has a cruel term of them calling people like that washed up. But I was such a fan of old movies and still am. To me, they were like gods and goddesses. I was just so pleased to get to meet them.
That was my mom's one brush with fame, Donald O'Connor. She met him, and he kissed her on the cheek. And she said she was never going to wash her cheek again after that.
And I was telling you earlier, James, so many of these great stars I met right downstairs of this building at the Westport Playhouse.
That is pretty cool. Like I said, I've always known them here across the hall, but I didn't realize they used to be down where the Funny Bone is, I guess.
Yes.
And you were, I'd asked you before we started the segment about, you said a lot of them, 90% of them are just so nice, but you said there are some difficult ones, and you said you had a good story about Vincent Price's wife.
Yes, this is an occasion. It wasn't the celebrity who was difficult. It was his wife. I had read that Mr. Price was coming to town, and I kind of put myself in motion to arrange an interview. So we didn't have the internet back then in those olden days. That's how old I am. So I wrote him a very professional letter, and I didn't get a letter in return, but I got a phone call from one of his assistants. And they were very pleasant, and Mr. Price said he would be delighted to talk to you. He'll be staying at the Chase Park Plaza Hotel on the such and such days. You call his room, and he'll make time to talk to you. Well, on that date, I called his room, and answered was the British voice of his wife, Coral Brown. And I got hello out, and that was about it. It's just, how dare you call Mr. Price and disturb him? No, he is not going to let you interview him. And she went on and on and on at a very loud tone of voice. And I had a friend of mine with me, and I held the phone away from my ear. I think we could have heard her without the phone, but she just, I couldn't get a word in. I got a verbal spanking that I'll never forget. So
wow.
I just ended the call as, well, I hope you enjoy your stay in St. Louis, Miss Brown. And it was back in the old days when you had the old phones, and I got the big wham, the slam.
Right. Oh, yeah. You can't do that with cell phones now. You can't slam a cell phone. It kind of takes
it's no fun.
Drama out of it.
It really does. Yeah.
Huh.
A lot of lack of closure.
Yeah, really. You just, I'll hang up on you. Yeah. Click, and you press the little button. It's not really the same thing.
And there were some celebrities who were a little rough around the edges and maybe not as polite as I would have hoped, but that was in the minority.
Mm-hmm. That's good to know, at least that most of them are nice.
Well, a lot of them were the old-time stars from the golden days of movies, and that was part of their training, is to be nice to their fans and to the public. And I've read of many a star who got called on the carpet for not doing that.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, not anymore.
Yeah.
Seems like we always had, the tabloids wouldn't have anything to talk about then.
That's right.
So
they were a classy bunch.
Right. So you never got to interview Vincent Price then?
No, I did not.
Wow.
Man.
That's too bad. He was always one of my favorites. Obviously a great St. Louis connection, too, with him being from St. Louis. Was about, we talked about Stan Lee and Jack Kirby before the show started. Obviously the founders of Marvel Comics. What were they like?
Well, I went to my first comic book convention in 1974 in New York City. It was my first time in New York and my first comic convention. And back then, it was a lot different than the way it is now. It was very relaxed, and people were accessible. You could walk up and talk to them. And now Stan at the time was like a rock star. I mean, he had his bodyguards, and people would rush him. And I have a story in my book. I was up on the stage taking some pictures of him, and as soon as he ended his talk, there was like this rush of people, and I literally feared for my life. I mean, there were people there that were going to take no prisoners to get to him.
Wow. Not much has changed, except, now he's just older and people are scared to hurt him, I guess. Because I met him at Wizard World just very briefly, but when they went in to get the picture taken, they said, don't touch him, don't put your arm around him. He's seated in a chair, and just, it was like...
He'd had enough of it.
No, well, I think he was just, obviously, he's, 91 years old, God bless him. He's out there still doing the circuit and everything. But it was, went in and he just, hey, how are you? He was a very friendly guy. And then same thing at the signing. I didn't get to really talk to him because they're just like, When you get up to Mr. Lee, you'll put your thing down, he'll sign it, you move to the left, and they have people just like moving us through the line. So,
now, Jack Kirby was another animal entirely. I saw him, I was sitting in the lobby of the Commodore Hotel in New York in 1975, and I saw him standing there. I had seen his pictures before, and I knew what he looked like. And I walked up to him, and I started blubbering about what a big fan I was of his and how much his work meant to me. And he was so nice. He put his arm around my shoulder and he said, "Come on, kid, let's sit down for a while."
How cool.
So he took me over to one of the couches, and we sat down, and he talked to me for about 15 minutes. And I got one of Jack's famous, "These kids don't know how to write comics anymore" speeches. But I just sat there, and I nodded my head, and it was just a pleasant memory. And just to fast forward, later on when I got home, I printed a bunch of the pictures I had taken of him and mailed them to him. And I mailed him one I wanted him to sign of him and I together. So the envelope comes back, and there's a picture signed of him and I together. Plus, he had included an original drawing of Captain America and Bucky to thank me for the pictures.
What?
How cool is that?
That's
Yes.
amazing.
Yes.
Wow. That I'm sure if you ever decide to retire and sell that, that'll probably fetch a nice, tidy sum.
Yeah.
Well, it's on my office wall, and if there's a fire, it's the first thing I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, we are speaking with Sam Maronie, author of Tripping Through Pop Culture, and we're joined, as I said, by our guest host, Aaron Bodie. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back right after this. You're listening to the Big 550 KTRS. And welcome back. We're coming back with some Def Leppard because I know Bill's listening. And he was giving me grief last week about always playing the same 80s songs. Well, come to find out, Aaron Bodie, who may be a musical expert, I would say, loves 80s songs.
Oh, who doesn't really?
Well, evidently Bill Cleveland doesn't. So, you have any strong feelings about Def Leppard, Sam, one way or the other?
The 80s are kind of a blur.
In a
That's
good way,
okay,
though,
that's
right?
okay.
In a good way.
Okay, all right, that's good. That's fine. We'll accept
In a
that.
pleasant way.
Good. So, speaking of a blur, you were telling us during the break about your time on, was it Battle for the Planet of the Apes?
Yes, the last of the 5 Planet of the Apes movies. I, at the time when the movie was getting ready to be made, I made some contacts in Hollywood with the producer of the film, Arthur P. Jacobs, his publicist. And he reached out to me and said, "How would you like to come and be made up as an ape, spend a day on the set, and you can write a great story about it?" Well, it's the corniest publicity trick in the world, but I jumped for it.
Sure.
So I went out to Los Angeles, and it came time for my day to shoot. And it wasn't at the studio. They were shooting at a water treatment plant, a sewage treatment plant on the outskirts of Los Angeles, because it was supposed to represent the mutants' underground headquarters or something like that. But the call for that day was not for any ape extras, but they made me up as a human mutant, which comprised of me getting my face, a large scar applied to my face because I supposedly had radiation burns or whatever. So, but I spent the whole day on the set, and I got to watch Roddy McDowall being made up and, talk to all the technical people who I knew so much about anyhow because I was such a fan of the movies. And I spent the whole day on the set, watching them shoot, and it was like a dream come true for me. It was just so fascinating, and just to see all the things that Roddy McDowall and the other actor Paul Williams went through. It was just really tough for them to be in that makeup. They couldn't eat, and they couldn't relax.
How bad?
And but it was a day I'll never. I still have my mutant scar.
You do?
You saved it.
I asked the mutant. I asked the makeup people to please remove it in one piece if they could, and they did.
Oh, neat.
So
So cool.
I still have it wrapped in plastic.
Yeah, I assume Hollywood prosthetics have probably come a long way since then. That's probably they're able to eat and everything in their prosthetics now, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's
I'm
all
sure
different now.
Wow.
Vin Diesel would probably get very angry if he couldn't eat and when he's having his makeup
Needs protein, yeah.
Right, exactly.
So, but no, the ape actors, they drank juice through a straw, or
Wow.
they didn't even try to eat any solid food.
Wow. Well, I guess it's one way to lose some weight.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
drink your and before we wrap this segment up too, I know we talked about briefly you being an expert in the field, 40 years and plus. we talked about the Batgirl controversy. For those of you who don't know, there was a variant cover for Batgirl number 41 that was supposed to be released, and there was created a bit of a stir with some implications of degradation to females because of it. The whole story is on my website at facebook.com/Geek To Me Radio if you want to see a picture of the cover that was pulled. But do you think, was it too much, or too much, I should say, too much ado about nothing? Or,
well, comics have changed a lot, and they're more for adults now. That book is not a child's comic book. We live in a world where we have shows like The Walking Dead and other shows of that nature. So I really can't be surprised at a cover like that. I personally find it kind of tasteless, but I'm not the target audience for that book.
Right.
So I respect their decision to pull it, but I really didn't see what all the big hubbub was about.
Right, I kind of felt the same way. It's kind of like, I think some people were making too big of a deal of it.
I've seen a lot worse.
Yeah, and exactly, yeah. And I
Really?
pointed out the whole thing about, well, what about when the Joker beat Jason Todd to death with a crowbar and then blew him up in a building?
Wow.
And you actually, at the end of that comic book, they had a toll-free number you could call in. Did you want him to die or not?
What?
And nowadays, can you imagine that based on what this cover did, that would never fly?
Well, most comic books, that's what the cover is, the hero on the verge of getting their clock cleaned.
Right.
So, it's just another variation of that.
Yeah, I mean we could do a whole topic on just this thing. It's the point I think is important is the artist himself is the one who said, you know what, redact the cover. And so I don't think, again, whether or not you agree with it, I think at the end of the day it's the artist's call, I guess. And I guess DC did what they felt was right, and no matter what they did, someone's going to be unhappy because of the old Murphy's Law saying if you try to please everybody, nobody will like it.
Well, sure.
So
That's right.
But it's very interesting. And let's do a quick giveaway too. We'll I know we've got Bill Cleveland standing by very quickly. Let me plug him in, and he can join us. Bill, are you there?
Oh, like this? This is my introduction. I host a show for 5 years, and I hear let's plug him in.
I'm terribly sorry. And now, ladies and gentlemen, live from somewhere in the United States with his On the Road segment, I present to you Bill Cleveland.
Oh, that's a little better. Yeah.
Can you hear the applause?
I can. Hi, Aaron. How are you?
I'm great, Bill. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's raining in Houston. It's
Oh, you're in Houston.
It's gross, rainy and foggy, and not a big Texas welcome for Mr. Bill. But I think it's supposed to clear up tomorrow. But I'm sorry, you wanted to give something away, and I interrupted you.
Oh, no, that's fine. We since Sam's here, he brought a copy of his book in to give away. And
You got a guy on that has a book?
What's that?
You have a guy on that he has a book?
I know. I'm getting a more cerebral,
Can he
class
hear
of
me
clientele.
right now?
Sam can hear you, yes.
You're a book author, Sam?
Yes, I am, Bill.
Well, you are way too smart to be on this show. Then. I don't know why you're in there. This is beneath you, my friend.
Well, Bill, I write really good.
You write really good. No, okay, maybe you can be on the show.
But, and again, this is the question that Sam posed me, and being a comic book geek, I didn't even really know the answer for sure. I kind of stumbled. But if you would like to get a copy of Sam's book, Tripping Through Pop Culture, all you have to do is call in right now. The numbers are 969-KTRS if you're in St. Louis, 888-550-KTRS, and we'll pick up the tab for that call, or star KTRS from your cell phone. All we want to know is Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, we talked about them earlier, creators of Marvel Comics. What were their real names? The real names of Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. If you know that, call in 969-KTRS, 1-888-550-KTRS, or star KTRS from your cell phone. Bill, you want to take a stab at it since you're our first caller?
Oh, I don't know any of that crap. Sam, this is usually the part of the show where I take a little nap. I catch up on some Z's during this segment because I don't know any of this stuff, but I know people out there do know. Some people do.
Erin was very proud of you, though. I told her that you're caught up on Walking Dead.
I did, yeah. I started watching The Walking Dead. How
I'm
about
so
that?
proud, Bill.
I know. Have you watched it, Aaron?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, do you? Oh, see, I didn't remember that. Okay.
Yes.
Clearly,
Yeah.
I was sleeping the last time you were in, too. Sorry about that.
But we'll
You want a break, and then when we come back, I can tell you a little bit about Houston. And I don't want to step on too much of what you got planned tonight because I'm sure it'll be a much better show without me there.
Well, it goes without saying.
You want to do that?
Sure, yeah, we'll take a break then. And so if you know once again, we're looking for the real names of Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. If you know at least one, we'll give you half credit. Call in 969-KTRS, 888-550-KTRS, or star KTRS from your cell phone. We'll be right back after these words from our sponsors. We'll play some of your favorite commercials. This is the Big 550 KTRS.
You might know of the original sin.
Okay, and we are coming back again with more 80s songs, Bill Cleveland. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm not there, so I can't reach across the control board and strangle you.
But see, I don't know if you were listening earlier, this was at Aaron's request. Aaron is a huge 80s fan.
The first thing I said when I got in here is, please, can we play some 80s music?
Please, somebody strangle James.
But we did get a caller during the break, and we do have our winner. Paul, what's our winner's name?
Lynn Miller.
Lynn Miller? Lynn Miller. All right. Thank you, Lynn, for calling in. She knew the correct names for Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, which are...
That famous orchestra, too, the Lynn Miller Orchestra.
That is correct, yes. They were very popular. Whether the real names for Stan Lee and Jack Kirby are, Sam?
Real name for Stan Lee is Stanley Martin Lieber, and Jack Kirby is Jacob Kurtzberg. Perfect.
And Lynn knew that. So, Lynn, we're going to send you a copy of Sam's book, Tripping Through Pop Culture. It's also available on Amazon, correct?
Yes, it is.
And just go there, and you can look up, it's Sam, Maronie, Sam Maronie. And it's sammaronie.com is the website if you'd like to go see more of his collection of memorabilia and stuff. You got pictures up there, I'm sure. And
yes, I post several times a week there, so it's always something new.
Look for the online magazine and the podcast. You said coming. When should we expect those to hit?
The next couple months.
Next couple months, cool. And that'll be all
production.
sammaronie.com. Sam, thank you very much for joining us this evening. I greatly appreciate your taking the time to come in and speak with us.
It's great meeting both of you.
It's been very fun.
Nice
Thanks very
to meet
much.
you,
Bill, do you have any questions for Sam before he departs?
No, I was just trying to think of a clever catchphrase for Sam. Sam Maronie sounds a little bit like Rice-A-Roni, so you could do Sam Maronie, the St. Louis treat. That's what I was thinking of here.
Ooh,
There you go.
I like this.
Little catchphrase.
I like it, Bill.
Oh, thank you.
Sam, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it.
$500.
Thank you.
Bill does charge a fee, though. That's right. I forget.
Oh,
All right. Hey, good luck to you, Sam. Thanks for coming on.
thanks, Bill. Sorry I didn't get to meet you.
No, you're not. You'd be disappointed. So
You're not missing much, Sam. Trust me. It's all right.
That's what I hear.
We weren't supposed to tell him about that. We weren't supposed to tell him about our talks off the air.